Hi, everybody. So today we're going to do a Patreon only reading regarding Mercury retrograde, but truly we're just going to see what kind of comes up as we pull some cards. I have Oracle here, I have Tarot here. Not really sure, what I'm going to settle on or how I'm going to feel. But, first of all, let's start with kind of dispelling some of the Mercury retrograde myths. So the internet would have you fearful, has some people fearful of Mercury retrograde, and there's nothing to be scared of. Mercury retrograde can be frustrating. It can be intimidating. There can be things that come up that, again, are frustrating. But Mercury retrograde is a time for us to turn internal, a time for us to kind of process some things that are that have come up over the last couple months. And specifically, Mercury is our communication. Mercury is the way we process things. And so, it's also, and it's in Libra for this retrograde. So, and Libra is our partnerships. Libra is our relationships. Libra is the law. Libra is balance. Libra is justice. Libra is fairness. Libra is how we connect with others and balancing how we connect with others and what we give to others versus how we connect to ourselves and what we give ourselves. And that's going to be a theme that we see carried out through October. I'm going to talk about that in, upcoming cosmic updates a little bit more, but we will have a new moon in Libra and a full moon in Aries. And both of those talk about balance. Both of those talk about figuring out how we can show up for others and how we can show up for ourselves. This relationship a lot is going to be about processing what our relationships mean to us. How we can show up in relationships and where, maybe our relationships need to shift a little bit. So again, this is all going to depend on where this stuff falls in your chart. So you can take a look at what house in your natal chart, what house is ruled by Libra. And if you have any questions about that, you can always reach out to me. Part of being on my Patreon is getting access to me for questions like that. So if you're curious about what house Libra rules, if you aren't sure, no question is a silly question. Astrology can be very in-depth and very confusing, and we learn different things at different times. So if you ever have a question, please feel free to, ask me, and I will always help you with the time and space that I have. So for instance, if you're a Libra rising, then Libra falls in your first house, and this may be about relationships to yourself and your body, right? Because a lot of times the first house is our body, our self-expression, our physical appearance, the way we present ourselves to the world. And so maybe this is about finding balance in that, or having a relationship to yourself and your body and your physical experience on earth. If Libra rules your fourth house, then maybe it has to do with relationships in your home or relationships with your family members. Relationships to generational, like family relationships. So that stuff might be coming up here. If it rules your 10th house, then maybe this is how you partner with people at work, how you relate to authority or authority figures could be coming up for you. And so many other things, again, based on where Libra rules your chart and what other planets are in there. They're all going to get a say. So, so feel free to let me know in the comments where you have Libra in your chart, or if you're not sure, you can, ask me that as well. Just post the chart or send it to me elsewhere, and I will help you as much as I can kind of figure that out. So Mercury retrograde is a time for us to kind of slow our mind, to process and integrate the things that have happened over the course of the last 4 months since the last Mercury retrograde. So Mercury moves the fastest of all the planets. So as it's buzzing through some things, sometimes we don't have enough time to integrate and process and understand all the things that Mercury has taught us. And so Mercury retrograde is a time for us to slow down as it moves backwards. And I've gone through this in other cosmic updates, so I'm not going to go deep into what a retrograde is here. I kind of want to talk more about what the messages are from the universe during this time for us. But basically it's time for us to slow down and kind of like settle our minds and understand things and turn internal and reassess and relearn some things that we thought we already knew, or some things that we thought we already processed, and have a time to go back over that again and see it with new eyes and fresh perspectives, etc. So the first card that we get about what's coming forward in this Mercury retrograde is Radical Curiosity. And with the Radical Curiosity card, we are asked to, again, slow down in conversations. Come to conversations with radical curiosity. Come to conversations trying to understand the other side of something. Now, not always, right? So if we're in a conversation with someone who is consistently gaslighting us, if we're in a conversation with someone who is abusive, then we don't need to come to them to understand their point of view, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. But this is more like coming to things with a fresh perspective and recognizing that there's always something to learn in an experience. Even if we've been in that pattern and having that process over and over and over again, we can come to it this new time as a way to understand and radical curiosity. There's always something to learn in an experience. And when we go into something thinking that we know everything, thinking that we understand it fully, then we're kind of like removing that experience and learning opportunity for ourselves. We're limiting the experience in what it can be. So when we come to things with that childlike wonder, right, that radical curiosity of just wanting to learn, just wanting to understand, and being able to pick up little pieces and recognizing that you don't have to take something in its full truth to take a little bit of truth from each message. So the other thing that's coming is wishful expectations. Recognizing where your kind of like idealism is shifting, like this is the like smoke and mirrors effect of things, right? So seeing something in its truth and not what you wish it were, what you hope it to be. So this is kind of like checking into the patterns that are continuing to come up for you and come up for us. And again, with this being a Mercury retrograde in Libra, this could very much be wanting a relationship to be something, or wanting someone to be something that they can't be, or that they won't be, and that they have shown us multiple times that they can't be and they won't be. And yet we continue to have kind of this idealist or wishful hope that something will shift. And in a Mercury retrograde, it's often that time for us to recognize that something isn't going to shift. Like, this is something that we're continuously seeing. And we get wishful expectations, and right beside it, we get distorted desires. So again, this recognition of the truth, recognizing what is the truth here, recognizing where we're lying to ourselves, recognizing where we're allowing others to kind of feed us a story or an untruth in our experience. And distorted desires is recognizing where we're searching for something and we think that getting that thing is going to be the answer, and recognizing that we're just chasing something, where in reality we need to turn internally and recognize something, that it's not something external that's going to give us the answers, but it's internal things that are going to give us that desire and help us understand what's driving our desire, right? So with this Mercury retrograde, Mars is also in Libra and the Sun is also in Libra. Mars is our desires. The Sun is our soul's purpose, among many other things. But all of these planets, Mercury, Mars, and the Sun in Libra, as Mercury is retrograding, allows us to have a deep focus in connections, a deep focus in our relationships, a deep focus in where we find love, where we find beauty, where we find connection. And that's not always external. So a retrograde is often when we turn internal and when we go inside and when we connect to ourselves in a deeper way and understand ourselves in a deeper way. And so I invite you to take time during this retrograde, which started today, September 27th, 2021, and the retrograde will go until October 18th, 2021. So during that time, as we have Mercury in Libra, the Sun in Libra, Mars in Libra, and the Sun will be moving into Scorpio, where we do our shadow work. This is a time to kind of jumpstart that connection to ourselves and understanding where our desires are. Are they being met? Right? Do we need to shift something so that we can find beauty and love in our experiences again? And where are we distorting that reality for ourselves? Where are we lying to ourselves about something? Where do we keep telling ourselves that something's going to change when it's shown us time and time again that that thing is not going to change? Right? Where are we giving up our power, giving up our agency? And then the next card that comes is trusting tricksters. So again, the reminder that things that are happening externally may not be true. Somebody can tell us something and that may not be true, right? And the only way we know that is when we're in touch with ourselves and we can understand our internal truth and we can understand our intuition and our, like knowledge and wisdom that we hold inside of what our truth is and how we want to show up in the world and how we want to connect to each other and where we're giving too much. Right? So weighing out our relationships, weighing out how we connect to ourselves and how we connect to others, where we're giving too much, where we're not getting enough back, where we're not being truthful with ourselves about things, and how we can show up in a way of continuously learning. That radical curiosity, that ability for us to show up and take bits and pieces from every single experience. Right? So your trust and where you put your trust and where you put your energy, first and foremost, has to come back to self in these moments where we talk about Libra. Libra is about our connection to others. But in order to truly connect to others, we have to start connecting to ourselves to understand our own needs and to understand our own desires and where those things aren't being met and be truly honest with ourselves about how we're feeling. Like, how are these experiences in our lives feeling for us? Are we feeling fulfilled? Are we feeling tricked in any way? Right? And how can we kind of like process through that and learn through that? And the other thing about Mercury retrograde is that it's not necessarily a time for us to get these answers. It's more of a time for us to reflect on these questions. Right? Because Mercury retrograde can be very hazy. It can be very confusing. It can feel very just not clear, right? But as we get towards the end of the retrograde, things start to become more clear. But the focus here is to turn inside and really think about the questions, not necessarily focusing on getting an answer from them right now. We're pondering these questions and we're taking them internal to kind of figure out, like where we can focus to better connect to ourselves and better connect to others, right? Because again, we're talking about Libra and we're talking about Mercury, which is communication and thought processes and understandings of things. So I'm just going to ask, for a little bit of guidance for, the collective during this time. So again, again, not a time necessarily to make decisions, right? This is a time to take in the information. This is a time to slow down and process things that have happened, right? This is a time to journal. This is a time to do some shadow work. This is a time, again, not to make decisions, not to push for answers. If we need to make decisions, that's fine, right? Checking into ourselves as much as we can, doing the best we can, right? We can do whatever we want with this time. But the invitation is to really sit with ourselves with all of the questions that I talked about before. Where are we lying to ourselves? Where are our desires being met and where are they not being met? Where are, either other people tricking us, or where are we throwing up the smoke and mirrors? Like, where are we giving too much or not getting enough, right? Where are we feeling resentful? Because a lot of times when we give and give and give, even if it's out of the graciousness that we hold, when we're giving, sometimes that starts to be like, we start to feel resentful of that. And so where in your life is that happening? Where do you feel resentful? Where are you giving too much of yourself? And how can we balance that? And then the other thing that comes up for an invitation for this time is connecting to friendships. What does friendship mean to you, right? Defining your definition of friendship, your definition of a relationship, your definition of what you want to get out of your connections, what you want to get with your partnerships, right? So again, this can be work partnerships, this can be love partnerships, this can be friendships, this can be relations with, in-laws or your cousins or your siblings or whatever. This is connection to others, communication with others, right? And really, Mercury retrogrades are about ourselves. It's about our internal self, right? And so the opportunity during this retrograde is to connect to yourself on where you're giving too much, what you are, where you aren't being truthful, where you need to put up boundaries, maybe even, and again, not necessarily making decisions right now, as much as being aware of it, allowing it to integrate, allowing the stuff that you've gone through over the last couple months to catch up in your mind, right? For your mind and body to really catch up to each other and be able to embody the lessons that you've learned over the last couple months. And have fun, try to have fun during this time. It can be stressful. It can be, there's a ton of air energy happening in the cosmos, and that can always be stressful. Anxiety, trouble sleeping, headaches, migraines, etc., when there's a lot of planets in air energy. And we definitely have that here, but try to incorporate some fun. And again, turning internal to figure out and redefine and reassess your relationships, your friendships, your connections, how you communicate, how you give, what you take, what you're given, and what all of that kind of like looks like for you. So so I feel like, we got a lot here. And I want to know how you're feeling about the retrograde, what questions you have. So go ahead and post them anywhere on my social media or in this post. Again, this is a Patreon only video. I appreciate you so much for supporting me on Patreon and being here. If you happen to be here and you aren't a patron, again, I hope that you will check in the description and you'll join our Patreon. If not, I always am very gracious and accepting of tips for the work that I do and the energy that I, put out to the world. So we would love to have you join the Patreon if you aren't there already. If you are, thank you so much. I appreciate you beyond. And we will chat very soon. Happy Mercury retrograde in Libra. The internet will tell you to be fearful, but I will tell you not to. Just slow down, take a breath, turn inside, and take this opportunity to really embody and implement some of the lessons that we've learned over the last months that we might not even know that we've learned yet. So taking a beat, taking a second to just breathe. We'll make it through it. I'm here for you. Let me know if I can help you in any way, and we will chat very soon.